This is State of Decay 2 lethal difficulty, where the curveballs are constant and the negative effects hit harder than your father after 8 cans of Stella. After the tragic death of our leader Warburton, Evelyn steps up to lead the gang through the final 4 plague arts of Providence Ridge. And her first act as leader is to take out a wandering horde that's wandering a little too close to base, before collecting Warburton's belongings, mainly that grenade launcher. However, things very quickly escalate into a much bigger problem. But hey, at least the crackhead has been dealt with. Now to deal with everyone else, fire is my best solution. But unfortunately for that to work, I've got to get them all grouped together.
That's it, spread the flames through. Spread the flames!
Thankfully, 3 bloaters are also present, so I take advantage of their flammable insides. Then after a small bit of tidying up, it's on to collect Warburton's things. And I'm not saying he failed his mission, seeing as he did actually take out a Juggernaut, but there's still 3 Screamers present. Praise be to Odin that the Ferals are no longer here. I take out the first Screamer, simple enough, ignoring the non-plague bite of course. I then collect the rifle ammo press dropped by the earlier mentioned Juggernaut, however the other 2 Screamers are not so easily identifiable. And the hordes have gone insane, and this is vanilla lethal zone. How the hell is there this many zombies? After a bit of dodging and weaving, I eliminate Screamer number 2, although I'm starting to wish I'd saved a molly.
One question, where's the bloody other one?
And I simply refuse to waste a very valuable stimulant on a simple Screamer, so when the cardio is completely drained, I just climb to safety. I find the Screamer hanging around the back door like a stubborn hemorrhoid, and now it's time to leg it back to base. Evelyn has certainly taken more damage than I was intended, so I take over as Boyd and replace a handgun ammo press with a rifle ammo press we just collected. Boyd then makes his way to a wandering fuel trader, selling our unwanted backpacks and board games, before buying all the fuel sacks. But why the hell are they so expensive? More bloody outlaws passing through and once again cost me sweet Wonga. I know exactly how to deal with these hack jobs. I drop the fuel sacks back at base, and seeing as our last mechanic had a disagreement with a plague feral, I head back to the Sanguine Survivors to give Ian a chance at the big leagues. Yes, his mechanic skill is on par with a small child fixing a puncture on his BMX, but beggars can't be choosers. But then it's off to find the hack jobs, and I made a very particular promise previously. The BML-40, a 12-round grenade launcher to be used on the next set of raiders or outlaws that think they can steal from me. So with Boyd armed with Warburton's grenade launcher, we go on the hunt. Although by the time we find him in this barn, the sun has begun to set, setting up an epic cinematic showdown. Especially as there's an infestation right next door and 2 ferals have followed me to the slaughterfest.
Oh, I'm gonna fuck you up. You gonna fuck me up, are you? I'll be honest with you, I don't think you are.
Unfortunately, when the car takes too much damage, it starts to smoke, and I've got to get out on foot. One blast from the grenade launcher stuns the crackhead, and using my knife I can execute the prick, getting a Timberwolf in the process. What a wonderful day. But these hostiles have been promised to my grenade launcher, and as a man you must always honour your promises, otherwise your word means nothing.
Unlucky son. Unlucky indeed.
I then take out a Zed before collecting his weapons and pipe bombs, but the Zed reanimates with no head. Strange mutation. They hit harder, not asked about fire, and can continue fighting even after losing their heads. Overall, a terrible combination to deal with. The undead deal with the second outlaw, and a combination of my grenade launcher and point blank burst fire take out the last. But I still need to escape the undead and make the mistake of setting them alight. We've already seen that's not a good idea.
No. Oh shit! No!
His plague bar is nearly full and his health plummets to dangerous levels.
Boyd! Boyd! Get up, Boyd! Get up! Oh my god!
How I survived that, I'll never know. But we're certainly not out the woods just yet, as I still need to lose an infinitely burning horde. Okay, perhaps not. With nothing left chasing me, I can make my escape. Closer to death than Epstein on suicide watch, while also driving a car on the brink of exploding. Thankfully, I can get back to base without touching a single thing. Look at that, Minecraft YouTubers, how easy was that? That's when I know this Warburton's trade depot has finished construction, but I can't bring myself to get rid of it, even with radio silence rendering it a complete waste of time and resources. For now, I'll leave it as a shrine as we grieve the loss of our great leader. Back in charge of Evelyn, we repair and refuel, before making our way to Sawyer's Crossing where the final 4 plague carts remain, 3 of which being ridiculously close to each other, but that's going to work to our advantage. However, on our way to defeat the Blood Plague for the final time, we get even more bad news. out for blood. Zombies hit harder, they're relentless and tougher against my melee attacks. Although that will be the final heart we take down, for now we need to focus on the 3 at a time. When I arrive, I park up a safe distance away, as I was packed with more explosives than Guy Fawkes in 1605, and I don't want the car becoming a needless casualty in the up-and-coming war. Surprisingly, everything seems quiet as we start the assault, and that works out perfectly as I can complete the first phase completely uninterrupted, then drop a molly as the undead start to arrive. But there's no time to sit about playing with our metaphorical dicks. With a stimulant active, we've gotta get moving. Using Evelyn's gunslinger abilities, we easily deal with the feral before charging towards the barbecue joint across the road. But unfortunately, during this attack, I get bit, taking massive infection damage in the process, but that still doesn't stop me from completing the first phase, then dropping another molly as I escape, just as another feral joins the fun. After taking it outside, I eliminate it with gunslinger, before turning my attention to plague art number 3. And this one was a bit more problematic as the undead were already inside. That means I can't complete the first phase before a crackhead arrives, so I dip and drop a thermite grenade I bought off the fuel trader earlier. I once again gunslinger the crackhead, then one more swing completes the phase, and as I escape I drop a Wily Peak grenade. Yet another feral has decided to join the action, but let's face it, as he's a lonely boy, he's barely an inconvenience at this point. This is Evelyn, not Warburton. Back to the first heart, and with the door closed behind me, I complete the second phase with one swing, but still get a second in before dropping my final molly. This 4 bloat is outside, so I drop a Wily Peak to burn up the now massive hordes chasing me, and that means I've got plenty of time to take the second phase in the barbecue place. Another feral falls to Evelyn's might, then back in the Bovine Express, one more swing gets the job done. I guess that Wily Peak goes to double phase. Before leaving, I grab bandages and pipe bombs. As Evelyn is drug resistant, she goes through a shit ton of meds. At this point, the hordes are an uncoordinated mess, meaning I take out the first with no problems. And the same goes for the barbecue place. Now I want an outpost to use it as a stepping stone for a final play card, but due to the amounts of the undead, that's going to be very difficult. So I climb onto a nearby bus and make a lot of racket, then charge back towards the pharmacy to turn it into an outpost and set incendiary landmines. And as you'd imagine, that does a great job of cleaning up the mess. Now with a safe area to explore, I loot the 3 hearts we just took down, but because I don't have enough influence to upgrade the outpost to allow me to drop off rucksacks, I have to store them in the back of the car. Then before we take on the final plague art, we've received a message from the Bloodlust Liberators to see if they can join our group. Which is a bit mental as I've only helped them out once. Don't you think you're coming on a bit strong, Damien? But I'm not one to look a gift horse in the mouth. Their skills are very valuable, so I welcome them to the team. There is Renata, the terrible gardener who moonlights as a serial killer of plants, but maybe also with family. Then there's Damien, a fantastic driver who loves to share. And finally Tones, who I relate to the most, as sometimes he just needs some quiet time. He's also an aircraft engineer, so let's hope he can teach Ian a thing or two. Now with 10 members, the community has never been fuller. Next up for Evelyn is to investigate some survivor activity. She is the sheriff after all. A group named the Shenanigans killed her friend and she's after revenge. And being the sheriff, Evelyn likes to promote vigilante justice, so agrees to lend a hand.
If you got murdered by a group of people called the Shenanigans, honestly, I couldn't take you seriously. I'm talking myself out of helping Shell out, I'll be honest with you.
But truth be told, Evelyn could never say no to a violent solution. People needed killing, and she was ready for action. Although it does sound like one of the guys is armed with a gas launcher. Luckily, it was just a bullet that hit me, otherwise it would very much be lights out. Once she's shaken them off, it's simple to clean up from there.
Oh god damn it! Get up, get up, get up, get up, not Evelyn!
Okay, now she can shake them off and deal with the final 2. But I still want to search their corpses for loot, so it looks like I'm gonna have to turn to arson even if Shell takes a bit of collateral. Shell thanks me for my efforts and gives me a sack of medical supplies. Then I can do a cheeky bit of grave robbing. But seeing as Evelyn has taken a fair bit of damage, it's probably for the best to give her a rest. But not before I take out a Juggernaut with the Apocalypse's greatest weapon. I swap out to one of our newbies, Damien, and after loading him up for war, send him on his way to deal with the final plague art in Providence Ridge. Although things won't be as simple as you think as an old nemesis makes a reappearance. Smokestorm, you son of a bitch! Thankfully, I'm able to complete the journey before the thick smoke blocks my view. And it's not actually until I'm fighting the plague art that the smoke actually starts to form. But isn't it taking the piss a bit that it actually forms inside buildings? Surely that shouldn't be a thing. With the crowds getting in the way, it's a little while before I can complete the first phase, and during my escape I accidentally pipe bomb myself. But Damien's an absolute champ and just shrugs it off. The second phase comes much quicker, and as I escape I drop my final Wily Peak grenade. Which means it's just a few more swings and we get the job done for good. But we're not out of the woods just yet. We were lucky enough that no ferals caused any issues during the play cart takedown, but if I want to loot it, I'm gonna have to take one down now. And with Smokestorm, shit is very eerie. Luckily, Burst Fire is my ally. I then managed to grab my loot and make our escape, with my destination in mind being the pharmacy I turned into an outpost earlier, using my mini-map as the best way to navigate. Gratefully, I managed to get there without tripping a bloater, but it's a long way back to base when you can't see beyond your bonnet. So to wait out the Smokestorm, we swapped to Renata, the serial killer of plants. She makes the cell tower nearby safe, finally getting rid of radio silence. Then, egged on by the other community members, she decides to prove her worth by taking on a juggernaut with only a knife. Her mate Damien had ended the blood plague, while Tones was providing invaluable mechanical support. She uses Molotovs to take out the Zeds attracted by the juggernaut's roar, and even though she's fast and nimble, this was only going to end one way. R.I.P. Renata. Another soldier falls to the undead scourge. Devastated and blaming herself, Evelyn needs to vent her frustrations. However, before she gets the chance, a group of furries threaten the entire town with violence. As soon as our car is on the other side of the map, I radio in for a replacement. A blood ambulance supplied by Jace's hero bonus. And after a quick wardrobe change to match the goal at hand, it's time to check in with the other enclaves, neither of which have we had any decent interactions with. Starting with the Unbound, who will be very happy to assist us in the up-and-coming fight. In fact, so too would the Unbent. However, they did warn me about the remaining soldiers who might have already talked to the furries. So I make my way over there, and that's when I realise the remaining soldiers are an enclave that Warburton was supposed to help out before his untimely death. We pull up to the factory they're basing at, and their leader just starts manically laughing at me. He then mentions something about the high ground, but no somersaults for me. I'll just shoot the fucker in the face with a high-powered assault rifle. But that was exactly the release she needed to help her through her leadership woes. Truthfully, she knew she wasn't worthy of leadership. She was a trained killer, and that's just the way things were. After getting word of more furries entering the town, she races over to their headquarters, fully blaring the sirens to alert every single member of the undead within miles. Then with pipe bombs and bullets, it was time to make these bastards pay. The things she did to that enclave can't be fully explained. It wasn't just about ending their lives, it was the manner of which she did so. Not only were they brutally slain, but their battered corpses were left to be lunch for the undead. The gang never did hear from the furries again. The running theory was because of fear, terrified how a single slender lady could rip through 6 highly trained furries. But for Evelyn, it was all too much. She gets back to base and stands down as their leader. It was mutually decided that Daniel would lead the team from here. His first act as leader was moving them into the Prescott fire station and begin the long and arduous task of getting the place in tip-top working order. Days turned to weeks. Weeks turn to months. The base continues to expand, eventually becoming a fortress. Farm, garden, shooting range, infirmary, power from the utility room, and even an auto shop. Maybe that will help to prevent so many bangonomics. Many negative curveballs continue to come and go, like a terrible variation of thick-skinned. That made zombie heads armoured while also being extremely resistant to melee attacks. The only reliable way of dealing with them was executions or fire. Gargantuan juggernauts get dealt with ease thanks to the Timberwolf we picked up earlier. Even Evelyn finds peace in becoming the group's protector against raiders. And when she's not spilling potentially innocent blood, she teaches herself how to cook. Being able to prepare feasts for the gang, morale rises to unfathomable levels. They even start to make profit on the daily supplies. For the most part, that is. But when you have something so good, it's only a matter of time until someone tries to take it from you. At first, they welcomed new people with open arms, although occasionally hard choices had to be made. And seeing as Ian really was a terrible mechanic, it was time for Exile to make room for better fitting community members.
To hell with you and this shithole.
Finally, tides start to turn as the groups we'd usually welcome in threaten us with violence, threatening to take our lives if we don't forfeit our fortress to them. But when you come for the crown, you better not miss. And you certainly better come better prepared than baseball bats and machetes. My shotgun downs all 3 of the bastards. And once we're down to the final hostile, the team band together to give the most over-the-top arse kicking of all time. The poor bastard didn't stand a chance. And what's mental is I searched the corpses, finding not just one fully loaded BML-40, but 2 fully loaded BML-40s. I've never even seen a hostile with that weapon, so 2 of them is freaking insane. Now we need to fight off a zombie siege triggered from the violence, and they've got the perfect weapon to help. You might think it overkill, but I say we used exactly the right amount of force. We were not just defending ourselves, but sending a message to all of them out there. If you want to take down the refuge, you better not fucking miss.